All right, so the shower faucet. This is something that if you're planning on putting a handheld in, it's a really awesome idea to get a shower valve that has an integrated diverter valve. So this is going to be your mixing valve, turning it hot to cold, and then also up right above it is going to be able to switch your shower head to your shower wand. Having it all in one unit like this really makes it easy. This is made by HammerHead Showers. So in this video, I'm going to go through the depth that you want to set this, depending on, or basically in this situation, we're going to be doing tile. So I want to show you, some tips on the depth, some tips on making sure that you have your handheld port in the right location. All right, so the shower valve. But this one's really going to be one of the easiest ones, primarily because it has the mixing valve and the diverter valve already attached, already installed. So all I have to do is run my port from my handheld and just connect my water supplies. As far as depth setting goes, this is really simple, especially when you're just doing tile and a regular 1/2-inch backer board. As long as you don't go over 3/8 of an inch of thin set, which is a lot of thin set to keep as a layer, this is allowing for that allowance. So it could be further in or further out, 3/8 of an inch, and you're gonna be all right. Really what we wanna do is just get a 2x6 or 2x8 block. You just want to be able to make sure your screws can go into the mounting block. What's awesome about this is it just has the bottom valve that you screw together, so you're in good shape there. So we're going to use a 2x6 block, and the height of this is really personal preference, but I think we're going to go somewhere around 48 inches. What's that? Yeah, this is a smaller shower, so that's 48 to the center. I mean, that's pretty normal. So this is a 2x6 block. This is a 2x4 wall. So this is just going straight up to the back of the drywall. So then all you have to do is whatever you put on your shims, like if this was just a regular 2x4 wall, we're good right there. We can just go ahead and put our valve in, because that's going to keep us at the right depth. But since we added some shims, we just want to add the shims to this block. So whatever it is that you shimmed out the wall is what you want to do on this block. So then once we get our valve prepped, that's going to be in the right location. So that's basically where our backer board is going to be. This is where we're going to be tiles going to be. So by the time I get my thin set layer, I might be back, 1/8 of an inch. But like I mentioned, you can be out 3/8 of an inch or back 3/8 of an inch and be fine. So even if I did bigger tile, I could come out pretty far and still be able to make that escutcheon plate and the valve work. So really simple, just 2 blocks, just put the block straight to your back of your wall. Whatever you shimmed out the wall, do that. So we're gonna go ahead and get our valve prepped, get this installed. And then we wanna bring our handheld somewhere over in this vicinity. We don't have a whole lot of room here with this other pipe over here, but we're essentially going to just bringing this straight over. Now I do have, there's plenty of room in there. It's going to be a little bit cramped because normally most pipes are coming up from the floor, so it makes it a little bit easier so then you're not crisscrossing, but it's not a big deal. So take this little cover off. Put these, there's 2 in there. If you were to sweat all this, put copper and actually solder this, you're gonna have to take all of this apart, these has this little integral shut off. These are great because if you don't have access to your plumbing in any way, you need to have a shut off so you can just shut off the valve in case anything went wrong. But since we're doing PEX, this really makes it simple. You don't even have to think about it because you're not gonna be heating up that valve. So we wanna just prep all of our male adapters here with a little bit of Teflon tape. Make sure it goes clockwise with the fitting. So we're rotating this 4 to 5 revolutions around, because when you thread this on, you want it to thread with it. You don't want to be pulling that Teflon tape off. So put Teflon tape on every one of these fittings, and then we'll put our adapters on. Now I do like to use a little bit of pipe sealant. This kind of ensures the seal of those fittings. So we just have to put a little bit around. You don't need a lot, but just put that over the Teflon tape on every single one of these. And you just thread on They're female adapters. Okay, just make sure they're snug. Okay, so we are going to be centering this within our shower pan. So just make sure you know what your center is. It looks like we're 17 inches, 17 inches to the center. So just want to kind of an indication of that. So we're going to have to bring these elbows up to connect. So I would advise getting these set up prior to putting them in place so that you have room to put everything together. This guy's just going to come right over and connect for my handheld. So let's go ahead and get this prepped. Yeah, we should be able to crimp that just fine. So I am probably going to have to crimp this one outside the wall before I mount it. So just mark the pegs to cut. I turn off the water. "17 inches. Bend the back plate a little bit. All right, and then we'll bring this over to here. So we'll drill a little hole right along here. Okay, so that's one nice thing about PEX is that it gives you a lot of flexibility to run things. So on this shower handheld, normally I go like 60 inches just so that that cord can hang around. And I just want to make sure that I have enough room so that when I install this, that I can thread this in. So, you know, something at least 3 inches away from the back wall is probably ideal. And then we'll probably put our handheld, you know, basically right here, like the little bar that raises. So let me go ahead and get a block for that. It should work. So, all right, so the shower adapter here. So it's just a drop your elbow. That's all you're going to be really putting in the wall. But what I'm going to advise, so that you can just use just a standard 2.5 inch brass nipple. Now, Home Depot, Lowe's, all the box stores, wherever you go, are going to have everything within a 1/2 inch increment. That's where it's kind of nice to have one of these adapters in case you need to bring it out a little bit more to make that work. But if you have basically 2.5 and you bring this straight on here, so like I said, without the Teflon tape and without all of that, this is basically your real measurement. This is what it's going to be right to the back of the tile. And we're just going to seal it to the back of the drywall because I really don't have any way to really anchor this. So make sure you put plenty of sealant on it, and once this sets, it'll be well set. So go ahead and put this block, glue it to the drywall, and we're going to get a couple additional shims that's going to go over this that we're going to screw everything into. I normally bring these up about 60 inches off the floor. And then we want to be at least 3 inches afraid. I usually, yeah, let's go 3.5, because I want to make sure that once I have my tile in, that I can thread this around. I don't want this to hinder up against the back wall, so that'll work there. Basically, I have the front of this drop ear elbow 1 inch behind my rough framing. So, or not 1 inch behind, but 1 inch to my backer board. So that'll work out well. Again, just looking at this, when you thread this in, this is a 2.5 inch brass nipple. So it will extend out a little bit more when I actually get the Teflon tape and sealant on there. But that's going to fit pretty nice and tightly right to that. So we're in good shape there. Now we're about an inch behind, so that's good. Okay. So first off, we need to go ahead and shut off our water. This is one of the great things about this valve. It has the integral shutoffs, so you can service the valve and make sure that everything's turned off in case there was ever a problem with the cartridge. Okay, so in order to prep this, you want to get Teflon tape and pipe sealant. So try to keep it flat, go clockwise with the rotation. And this is going to allow me to, when you thread this onto into the pipe, it's going with the threads. So 4 to 5 revolutions is good enough for that. And you want to put a little bit of pipe sealant. You don't need a whole lot. Just something to go over it. Okay, and then we're also going to, well, we'll thread that. So then this just goes right in. Okay, keep those threads out. You don't have to worry about tightening it at this point. We're going to tighten it all together with the adapter. So like 4 to 5 revolutions. A little bit of pipe sealant. Let's get that all the way around the threads. And then we can go ahead and thread this guy on, and we're going to thread it all together here. So it's going to thread into that port as well. Okay. Works great. Now we are going to put a little bit of silicone around this, but really that pipe seal, that towel ready pipe seal already makes it really well sealed. But we'll flush this out before we put the handheld on. Shower head adapter off here. Okay, so this guy has a little set screw on the escutcheon plate. Just get that threaded. Okay, then same thing here. Just put a little bit of Teflon tape on there. 4 to 5 revolutions clockwise, so it goes with the threads. And then we'll put a little bit of pipe sealant over top. This kind of just ensures that everything's sealed. You don't need a lot of this, just need a little bit just to grease the fitting. Go ahead and put this in. So usually go about hand tight to about 2 o'clock or so. And then you can just take your screwdriver and tighten it down the rest of the way. Okay, just to show you, This little thing threads out, so if you ever had to change the cartridge, it's pretty easy. So that's all there is to it. So if anything went wrong, you have to get this replaced. There's a lifetime warranty on this, so if you had ever had a problem, you can get it changed. But just looking at this, these little indicators here go into the back of the valve to where it presses in, and then you just take this locking nut. If anything ever went wrong, let's put this guy back on. So let's turn on this water. So this is off. Turning it makes it hotter and colder. So okay, and then let's go ahead and test or flush out this system. So that's straight up. And then this should do both. Okay, so at this stage too, before we go put everything on, we might as well test how hot it gets. Because this little guy right here, this is like the little part that keeps it from getting any hotter. So when it hits this stopper, that's how hot it's going to get. So if you wanted to get it hotter, you just need to adjust that little mechanism. But let's go ahead and see where we're at right now. But basically what you're trying to do is just eliminate this going above 120. So if it was too hot, then you just pull this out. Because right now it's all the way at the max.
I think you should leave it like that.
Yeah, I am gonna leave it max but if you had a regular hot water tank where you have 130-degree water, all you're doing is pulling this out and then just slightly moving it counterclockwise to get it to get this to stop, keep this from moving. Basically this little stopper here is going to stop against here. So if you wanted to keep it from getting so hot, you just turn this down counterclockwise, and then when you turn it, that's all you can go. So very simple to adjust. All right, so this guy, very simple. This just literally has little gaskets on it. And that's what was so important about sealing around this guy. This has a foam gasket on it, but this basically just seals against each one of these valves and just presses up against the back. So it's going to be important that you have this sealed behind there like we did. And then we'll just go ahead and, there we go. Yeah, that way up is just that, and then the other way is both. So it's nice to have a valve that does all three. So we're just going to keep this in the up direction, so you don't get confused of which way it is. And then these have a couple little grommets to put in here. Well, you really only have to, really shouldn't, it just needs a little bit hand tightening, that's all. Very nice.
Oh, that looks great.
Yeah, that's a perfect amount. That really is, that's a perfect amount. It works really well. So we're gonna put our handheld somewhere around here. It's really whatever you're comfortable with. Seriously. Some silicone here before we put the screws in. Let's double check this. Now we got that one set. Should work. These other holes. There we go. As long as you got the little gasket on there, you're good to go. And then this is your adapter to the handheld. Again, rubber gasket. So it really should just be thread on and hand tight. Nice metal corrugated line here. Doesn't wrap up like the plastic ones do. Perfect. All right, so right makes the handheld. Very nice flow. Yeah, it's awesome. So again, got your handheld to the right. You got your rain shower top, and then you can go to both, which is a really nice feature. So you can use both at the same time. A lot of valves don't allow you to do that, but this one does, which is great. And just obviously you get more flow when you have it on full. But yeah, that's a really nice hand wand there. Makes it easy to clean down the shower. So, great job, HammerHead.